Hi, there, it's WB and welcome to World Broadcast YouTube channel. Before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button and press bell icon to never miss any latest news. Obama's national security advisor just revealed what Barack and Hillary created, risks his life to tell. We have all heard President Donald Trump call out Barack Hussein Obama and Hillary Clinton as the co-founders of ISIS, and there is a good reason that. This may also explain why the intel community has targeted Michael Flynn first and foremost. Trump chose Flynn and even floated the idea of making Flynn the vice president, which was not a great idea. Zero Hedge reported that Ben Rhodes admits Obama armed ISIS, but Ben, here's what I don't get. If you're saying this about Afghanistan and prolonged conflict, all of which I don't disagree with what you're saying, how do you, then, explain Syria? Because you've been criticized a lot. I've been listening to your interviews on the book tour. You talk about in the book about how you were criticized for not doing enough on Syria. I remember being at an event in DC a couple of years ago where Syrian opposition members were berating you for not doing enough at an event, and you often were the public face who came out and defended Obama. I want to come to the other direction and say, did you intervene too much in Syria? Because the CIA spent hundreds of millions of dollars funding and arming anti-Assad rebels. A lot of those arms, as you know, ended up in the hands of jihadist groups, some even in the hands of ISIS. Your critics would say you exacerbated that proxy war in Syria, you prolonged the conflict in Syria, you ended up bolstering jihadists. Ben Rhodes, well, what I try to do in the book is, essentially raise all the second guessing on Syria tends to be not what you expressed, Mehdi, but the notion that we should have taken military action. Yes. What I do in the book is I try to look back at 2011 and 2012. Was there a diplomatic window that we missed, or that we, in some ways, escalated its closure by pivoting to the call for Assad to go, which obviously I believe should happen. I believe Assad has been a terrible leader for Syria and has brutalized his people, but, was there a diplomatic initiative that could have been taken to try to avert or at least minimize the extent of the civil war? Because, what ended up happening essentially there is, we were probably too optimistic that, after Mubarak went and Ben Ali and eventually Saleh and Gaddafi, that you would have a situation where Assad would go. And, not factoring in enough the assistance he was going to get from Russia and Iran, combined with his own nihilism, and how that could lead him to survive. So I do look back at that potentially missed diplomatic opportunity. On the support of the opposition, I don't know that I would give us that much agency. There are a lot of people putting arms into Syria, funding all sorts of, oh, come on, but you were coordinating a lot of their arms. The US was heavily involved in that war with the Saudis and the Qataris and the Turks. Well, I was going to say, Turkey, Qatar, Saudi. You were in there as well. Yeah, but, the fact of the matter is that once it kind of devolved into kind of a sectarian-based civil war with different sides fighting for their perceived survival, I think the ability to bring that type of situation to close, and part of what I wrestled with in the book is the limits of our ability to pull a lever and make AG like that stop once it's underway. So that's why I still look to that initial opening window. I also describe, there was a slight absurdity in the fact that we were debating options to provide military support to the opposition at the same time that we were deciding to designate al-Nusra, a big chunk of that opposition, as a terrorist organization. So there was kind of a schizophrenia that's inherent in a lot of US foreign policy that came to a head in Syria. That's a very good word, especially to describe Syria policy. Of course, this really isn't really news if you have been paying attention, since the Obama administration has been plagued over the news that US weapons supplied to Syrian rebels were inadvertently winding up in the hands of terror groups, and no one did anything about it, even though major media outlets covered the ineptitude of Obama's US-trained rebels in early 2015. But there was no evidence he purposefully sent weapons to terror networks determined to attack America. Or at least that's what the media claimed. Moderate rebels who had been armed and trained by the United States either surrendered or defected to the extremists as the Jabhat al-Nusra group, affiliated with al-Qaeda, swept through the towns and villages the moderates controlled in the northern province of Idlib, in what appeared to be a concerted push to vanquish the moderate Free Syrian Army, according to rebel commanders, activists, and analysts. But again, the media was silent. Here's the interview. Watch the video. Former DIA Director Michael Flynn, it was a decision to fund, arm ISIS. Link in the description below. This fully explains why the deep state is so intent on taking down Flynn. He knows too much about this and he has President Trump's ears. Of course, we all know very well us Americans have pulled stunts like this before only to later realize we picked the wrong horse. Look no farther than to Fidel Castro, who was once our ally. Maybe it's time we just step away and let these savages sort it out on their own, don't you agree? Please don't forget to like and support our channel by press subscribe button. Thank you for watching.